There's talk of a new Tea Party. Switching gears for a second here, they call for a national so-called recess rally, a protest to health care reform being made here. Contessa Brewer has the details. What exactly are they protesting, Contessa? Well,
they're protesting a lot of different things, but in this case, it seems to be the big overhaul reform legislation, Dylan, of health care. You know, the Senate lawmakers are going to leave Washington, D.C. tomorrow, so the debate over health care reform is really moving into these town halls. It's moving into communities across the country. President Obama is, in fact, emailing supporters. He's asking them to go out and fight what he's calling lies with the truth. Who's he fighting? Those angry critics that we've seen showing up at these rallies and town halls, shouting down Democrats, making it clear they want to kill this reform legislation. Now, we may see fireworks August 22nd when planners are organizing a so-called recess rally. Lawmakers are on recess. Protesters are ready to challenge what they call socialized, government-controlled health care. It may not be entirely as it seems, though. There's a lot of evidence. A lot of the so-called grassroots anger is being stirred up, manufactured, even orchestrated by conservative Republicans. David Mark is senior editor with Politico. What are you finding in terms of who's setting up these rallies?
Well, these town hall meetings have always produced some outliers, people who maybe were not in the mainstream, those who did not want to talk about what the members of Congress wanted to talk about, but at least they seemed organic. They were from the district. They actually lived there and had some say. Now it appears some of them, at least, are getting bussed in, paid for even by certain outside groups, and that kind of changes the whole nature of these town hall meetings.
Does it make it less authentic, though, if you have people being bussed in, if someone's organizing them to show up and make their voice heard? How's that any different than orchestrated letter-writing campaigns to lawmakers?
It's not particularly different, except it kind of wastes everybody's time. After all, there might be people there at these town hall meetings who are worried about getting their Social Security checks, who might have other questions about national security, other issues, and they can't get their voices heard because they're just protesters who shout down whoever is on the stage. It's not just members of Congress. We saw a cabinet secretary, Kathleen Sebelius, the health secretary, with Senator Arlen Specter a few days ago, get shouted down.
By the way, that big recess rally, some of the organizers here were looking at Michelle Malkin, who's a Fox News analyst, Red State, which is a right-wing blog, American Majority, run by a former Bush speechwriter, Sam Adams Alliance, run by a former Illinois GOP director, Americans for Prosperity, run by conservative activists. So there is some indication. Organization at play. It's good to see you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Contessa, I want to get the
Dylan,
governor. You had a thought here.
Yeah, my thought is that I think the success of the opposition right now hinges on the fact that the White House hasn't articulated sufficiently what health care reform is. Right. So they went to the other extreme from Hillary, the mistake Hillary made, which was to go so detailed people could pick at the details. Here it is so amorphous that the opposition is able to say we don't like this socialized medicine, and people, which is clearly a silly caricature of it, but nobody knows quite what it is, and so we don't know what to grasp onto to support. Right. They need to be more specific about what we're getting.
Wyden Bennett, to me, I look at that plan as just competition for health insurance and free choice to liberate people to leave their jobs and keep their health care. I feel like we have the plan. No one wants to talk about it.
Nobody's explaining to the public what it is and saying here is what you get. And this notion of that, gee, government's going to socialize health care. Half the people who are protesting are getting Medicare. They're getting government health care. They love it. And yet they're saying we don't want government running health care. It's like this biggest, what are you saying? You don't understand what is really going on. But, and nobody's explaining.
Go ahead.
Dylan, the other thing is, I agree with both of you 100%. The other thing is that the White House hasn't fallen behind any one of these specific plans. I mean, the president wants health care reform. And I don't think until we have a bill out of the House and a bill out of the Senate that people can actually look to and say, this is what we're voting on and this is what will happen if we approve this. Until that happens, these rallies, whether they're organized or heartfelt emotion from people at these town hall rallies, they're only going to continue. It's feeding the fear rather than making people feel confident that there's a real plan out there.
And this is just fear.
It's fear of uncertainty.
Yes.
And then the uncertainty is bred by the lack of definition to what the plans will be. Somebody's got to say, here's what it is. Forget this rhetoric. This is right-wing silliness. Here's what you're getting.
Contessa?
That you can't, it's hard to explain it if you're being shouted over. If you're going up and you're just willing to say liar,
but you are
then you're not actually getting
answers. Nobody shouts over the President of the United States, and I think he can articulate it better than anybody else, and he should do that with specificity.
He's the best salesman.
Yeah. Jonathan, are you done for the moment?
Yes, Dylan, I am.
I'm done as well. You're done, Governor?
If you're done, I'm done.
All right.